Good. 40 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. Good. Okay. Contact light. Okay, engine stop.
We copy you down, Eagle.
A mere 3 decades ago, we marveled as we saw for the first time our own planet Earth suspended in the vastness of space. Yet, as we continue to probe the heavens, we discover beneath our own feet new clues to the evolution of life on Earth.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
In 1978, less than a decade after Neil Armstrong made the first human footprints on the moon, Jack Horner, a museum preparator from Princeton University, and Bob Makala, a high school science teacher from Rudyard, Montana, made a profound discovery that would revolutionize dinosaur paleontology. Traveling through the Badlands of northwestern Montana, they happened to stop at a rock shop in the small town of Bynum. The owner of the shop, Marion Brandbold, presented them with a coffee can full of tiny, fossilized bones. Those few dusty bones were identified by Jack and Bob to be from baby duckbill dinosaurs, a new species of duckbill. Excited by the rare new find, they intensified their search and soon discovered numerous nests containing the fossilized remains of more baby duckbills, along with heavy concentrations of eggshell fragments. The nature of the evidence found in the nests led Horner to the revolutionary idea that the duckbill dinosaurs cared for their young, much like birds do today. Because of this behavior, they named the new species Maiasaur, from the Greek, meaning good mother lizard. Later, in the same area, clutches of Maiasaur eggs and 2 other dinosaur species were discovered, and a massive graveyard of thousands of adult and juvenile Maiasaurs was unearthed. This new evidence led Horner to theorize that dinosaurs were warm-blooded social animals that traveled in herds and migrated to nesting grounds to rear their young.
There have been eggshells found all over the world, except Australia, and usually at a site we have eggshell associated with bones. We have found these eggshells associated with Protoceratops bones, say in Mongolia, but never have they found an embryo within that egg. But here we have a troodon and we have a hypsilophodont within the egg, and then we have embryonic bone found in the nests here in the Badlands. We have 3 events that happened here. The event that happened on Egg Mountain is one event. The event that preserved the nests in the Badlands is a second event. And the event that washed all of the bones here, this herd of 10,000 dinosaurs, is yet a third event. And all of it has happened here in this small area. That's what makes it so precious.
In 1982, Jack Horner became curator of paleontology at the Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman, Montana. In those few years following 1978, Horner had challenged the long-held view of dinosaurs as sluggish, cold-blooded reptiles. Almost overnight, a revolution in paleontology was underway, and Jack Horner and the Museum of the Rockies were at the forefront.
As far as the dinosaur behavior goes, there were no preconceived ideas before we found the material out here. So people had some assumptions based on reptiles. Dinosaurs were thought to be reptiles, therefore they thought that the dinosaurs ought to have reptilian-like behaviors. But as we as we begin to collect information about dinosaur behavior and learn more about modern reptiles, we find that dinosaur behavior was more like bird behavior and similar to behavior of crocodiles.
Education is the reason for the Museum of the Rockies, and the Berger Dinosaur Hall was created specifically to relate the unparalleled findings of Jack Horner and his associates to the general public.
You know what those are?
His hand.
Those are his fingers.
What's
And
that?
the last part of his wing is actually his little pinky. Can you do that? Only he had a really long little pinky. And that was how he could fly.
Miss, what's that over there with a long beak standing?
That's one of the same animals. That's a Quetzalcoatlus. That's an awfully big name. But what that is, it's a flying reptile. It's not a dinosaur, it's a flying reptile.
After workers locate and unearth the remains of 80-million-year-old dinosaurs, the museum staff begins on a scientific journey that allows them to virtually turn back the clock and recreate the ancient world of the dinosaurs. Scientists compile evidence such as the nature of the geological layers in which the fossils are found and the orientations of fossils in the ground. They compare growth rates of fossilized dinosaur bone with the bones of animals living today and conduct biomechanical research to help determine what dinosaurs looked like and how they moved. And they study the behavior of living birds and reptiles to try to understand how dinosaurs lived.
Anytime we're looking at dinosaurs, we don't have a living one. We have to look at living animals and attempt to make comparisons. That's the only thing we have to compare with if we're going to look at them as living animals. And so for herding, yes, we look at buffalo and bison and elk and caribou and wildebeests and anything else. And we see the same kinds of things with them. But a wildebeest and a dinosaur were not the same animal. Maybe we should be looking at flocks of birds.
Long ago, during the Cretaceous period, 80 million years before humans lived on the Earth, a large sea covered the interior of North America. Many large and unusual animals lived in the sea and along its shore. To the west of the Great Sea, the Earth was alive with volcanoes and rugged mountain ranges recently thrust up from the Earth's interior. The Cretaceous period was a time of global warming, and the Cretaceous sea would rise and fall with fluctuations in the mountain building.
The North American continent, when Maiasaurs lived here, was bisected by a seaway that extended from the Arctic Ocean clear to the Gulf of Mexico. And that sea level fluctuated a lot. So there were times when from the mountains to the seaway was about 400 miles. But there were other times when the shore of the seaway was right against the mountains. And dinosaurs lived on a big coastal plain between the mountains and the seaway. So you can imagine when when there was a big coastal plain, it was 400 miles wide, there was lots of room for the dinosaurs to run around. But when the sea was up against the mountains, there wasn't any room. So what we're looking at now is what happens to the populations of dinosaurs when the seaway changes. And what we're finding is that there does appear to be a time when dinosaur evolution speeds up, and that is when a seaway is coming in. But we have to collect a lot of specimens to test that.
Visitors to the Berger Dinosaur Hall are oriented to big concepts like geological time and dinosaur paleontology, setting the scene for a dinosaur hall that recreates a day in Montana 80 million years ago. In the Berger Hall, interactive technology provides a hands-on way to grasp these mind-expanding ideas. The good mother lizards, the Maiasaurs, might be called state-of-the-art dinosaurs. They embody the revolutionary thinking of Jack Horner and the museum staff. Since the discoveries of dinosaur fossils in the early 19th century, most paleontologists have accepted an interpretation of dinosaurs as cold-blooded reptiles that depended on external heat to maintain high energy levels. Horner noticed that in the Maiasaur nests, eggshells had been crushed into very small fragments, indicating the hatchlings spent a good amount of time in the nests, most likely cared for by the mother. This behavior is similar to that of birds today.
We know from out here that Maiasaurs nested in colonies like birds, and that they separated their nests from one another about the length of their own body, so they didn't get in the way of each other. We know that they laid about 25 eggs. We don't know how long the incubation period was. We're pretty sure that they covered the nest with vegetation, because we're pretty sure they didn't sit on their eggs, right?
Yeah.
Not more than once, anyway.
Too heavy for that.
And then, after the babies hatched, we have evidence that the babies stayed in the nest until they were about 3.5 to 4 feet long. And based on bone studies, we know that now that is about a month, about 4 weeks.
Only a month?
Yep.
Wow.
Near the Maiasaur nesting grounds, an unusual deposit of thousands of disarticulated or randomly scattered juvenile and adult Maiasaur bones was found, concentrated in an area 2 miles long and a half-mile wide. As many as 30 bones per square meter were found in this Maiasaur trash heap. Horner theorizes that the dinosaurs were killed in a catastrophic volcanic event, and their remains transported by a river of mud to their present location. The fact that this many Maiasaurs were found together indicated to Horner the exciting prospect that the dinosaurs congregated in a herd before they were killed.
And after they left the nest, of course they were fed by the parent, and after they left the nest, they stayed probably in family groups for a period of time, and then joined the big herds. And the herds, we know, were at least 10,000 individuals, and probably many more than that, maybe 50,000 individuals in a herd. And we know that they migrated north to south and south to north.
The world-famous Egg Mountain site revealed a new species of hypsilophodontid dinosaur named Orodromius maculae. They nested in colonies, but probably did not care for their young as the Maiasaur did. Egg Mountain was actually an island in the middle of an alkaline lake, and Orodromius was not alone on that small island. Many teeth from the small predatory dinosaur called Troodon are found among the Orodromius nests. And teeth from the formidable carnivore Albertosaurus, a Tyrannosaurus rex-like predator of the Cretaceous, are also scattered about. One can imagine a small pack of the carnivorous troodon, like wolves or perhaps hyenas, stalking the helpless Orodromius hatchlings on a day 80 million years ago. During the Cretaceous period, the climate in Montana was much different than it is today. There were no permanent ice caps at the poles of the Earth, and sea level was much higher. Thus, Montana had a more temperate climate. Seed-bearing gymnosperms like ginkgos, cycads, and conifers dominated the landscape, and seedless plants like ferns covered the forest floor. It's hard to imagine our world without flowers, but there were no flowers until the Cretaceous period. At that time, the first flowering plants or angiosperms evolved. One theory suggests that flowering plants evolved after dinosaur browsing habits shifted from high tree browsing to low shrub and ground feeding. Thus, pressure from the dinosaurs may have caused the evolution of the flowering plants.
There is no way to determine whether dinosaurs invented flowers or flowers invented those low browsing dinosaurs. I mean, it's a chicken and egg situation. There's no way to figure that out. But what is interesting is what happens to the dinosaurs when we get angiosperms. And one of the most important things that happens is that we see herding. In other words, we for the first time have an opportunity to have migrations. Dinosaurs can migrate with the seasons and continually have plants to eat. And that is the first time we actually see large groups of dinosaurs, like duckbill dinosaurs and ceratopsians, is in conjunction with the evolution of angiosperms.
At the end of each field season, Jack Horner comes back to the museum with new and exciting finds. Many of these world-class fossils are exhibited in the glass menagerie on the Mesozoic balcony. As visitors exit the Burger Dinosaur Hall, they are met with an intriguing sight. Workers surrounded by large femurs, massive jawbones, and formidable skulls. They patiently clean and prepare the bones from one of Jack Horner's famous digs. The Bowman Fossil Bank is a place to ask questions about the processes of excavating and preparing fossils.
There's an interesting thing about paleontology. The American Museum of Natural History in New York has the biggest collection of dinosaur bones in the world, and for years was at the forefront in paleontology. This museum in size is a fraction of that museum. This museum is now in the forefront in the whole world in paleontology research, and that's due mostly to Jack Horner.
In any science, we are looking for the truth. And we are detectives. We haven't seen the truth. We weren't there. We weren't around the dinosaurs. So all we can do is make a story, the best story we can make, based on the information that we find. So the first person that works on something, such as dinosaur behavior, the first person to work on it has the least amount of information, and therefore has a good chance of being wrong. As you gain more information, as you get more information, there's always a chance that you'll be proven wrong, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being proved wrong, because if you in fact really do want to know the truth, then you should be happy if someone can demonstrate that you're wrong.
As more fossils are unearthed and more information gathered, theories of what dinosaurs looked like and how they lived will continue to change, and the Museum of the Rockies will change with those theories. Any boy or girl fascinated by geology or paleontology could become the Jack Horner of tomorrow. But the secret is never stop asking questions.
I have found information that contradicts people that have worked in the past, and I expect my students in the future to contradict a great deal of what I have written about almost any subject I have written on. It's the way science works. And we just hope that one day we'll know the answer to it, to any question.